Gravitas. In this next segment, we talk about a story that we broke last night. The infamous head of the banned group, now known as the JUD, the Jamat-ud-Dawa Hafiz Saeed, and 4 of his close aides have now been placed under house arrest in Lahore, while their group, including a sister organization, is now also being placed under a watch list. Now, will this mean action against the group and its operators, or is it just an eyewash? Taha Siddiqui explains.
पाकिस्तान के अंदर जमात-उद-दावा का कोई मसला नहीं। मोहतरम वज़ीर दाखिला साहब, मैं उनको चैलेंज करता हूँ कि पूरे पाकिस्तान में हमारे खिलाफ एक FIR दिखाओ। हमारा कि हम कश्मीर के लिए खड़े हैं।
Lashkar-e-Taiba Chief Hafiz Saeed is known for his vitriolic speech during rallies. Comparatively, this one outside his home in Lahore shortly after he was served with a Punjab provincial government order placing him under house arrest was milder.
पीछे फेंका जा सकता है तो ये मुमकिन नहीं है।
For the record, Saeed has been in this situation before. This is not the first time that Hafiz Saeed is put under a house arrest or the organizations he runs put under restrictions. But the timing has sparked speculation it was done at the behest of the Trump administration acting under pressure from the Indian lobby. A release from the Pakistani authorities merely said Saeed is wanted in India on the charge of conspiring in the Mumbai attack in 2008. The Pakistani government has not pursued the case, citing lack of evidence, which was the reason why earlier house arrests were suspended and his organization allowed to function. Many believe that given Pakistan's history of using such non-state actors for its foreign policy objectives in the region, the current crackdown is also cosmetic and may not result in any concrete action against Saeed, his aides, or his organization that he claims are doing charity work. Taha Siddiqui, Islamabad, WION.
Well, to get perspective on this story, we're joined by Sushant Sareen. He is a distinguished fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation, as well as WION's Pakistan Bureau Chief, joining us from Islamabad, Taha Siddiqui. Thank you to both of you. Let's first start off with you, Taha. You know, what's the latest since you broke this story yesterday? Quite a bit has happened in the last 24 hours. Sort of bring us up to speed on where we are right now.
Well, we've been hearing about protests happening across the country today. There was one held in Karachi in which they demanded these actions by the government to be taken back. And I've been in touch with the Jamat-ud-Dawa spokesperson here, and he's been saying that they plan to hold more such rallies and protests, and sort of this sort of unfair decision by the government, which they're saying that has been done because of international pressure. As we saw in the report also, Hafiz Saeed claims that there is no crime that he's committed in the country, and that's what we've been hearing, and these sort of echoes at all these protests, and so they've taken to the streets now.
Let's now bring in Sushant into the conversation. Sushant, let's talk to you about this. We do know that Saeed is not the first time that he's been placed under house arrest. He's also on the United Nations banned list of organizations, but India now wants him on the UNSC to condemn him, but China has opposed that. U.S. has backed India, so certainly a very diplomatic game unfolding with regard to this. What do we make of this move?
No, I think you're confusing between two. You're confusing between the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hafiz Saeed. Hafiz Saeed is already an internationally designated terrorist. And so if the Pakistanis are taking, or at least making a show, and I think they are just making a show of taking some kind of action against him, probably in anticipation or because some actual pressure is being applied upon them. But I don't think this thing is going to go anywhere because, the organization which this guy heads is already under a watch list. That's nothing new. Putting him under house arrest probably tries to give an impression that this time they're going to be actually taking any action. But a house arrest in which the guy is allowed to make press conferences, he's allowed to stay in touch with all his cadre. What kind of a house arrest is that anyways? Number one, a dreaded terrorist needs to be placed in something much worse than a house arrest. And as far as his position that he hasn't committed any crime inside Pakistan, well, I think that's also stretching the logic a little too much, because his armed cadres roam around with weapons which are not allowed. Many of them are unlicensed weapons. His armed cadres make hate speeches. They preach violence against India, which according to the Pakistani Penal Code is against the law. They train terrorists. They hold terrorist training camps. They carry out all sorts of illegal activities and terrorist activities, not just against India, right, in Kashmir, but also there are reports of their involvement in terrorist actions in Afghanistan. So you can't have a terrorist taking the plea that because I don't commit any illegal act in the country in which I stay, no action can be ever taken against me. That's rather disingenuous. So that's pretty clear to all of us. But obviously the Pakistanis, and the Pakistanis have done this plenty of times in the past, at least 4 occasions in the past. They have arrested him, made this show of taking action against him, and then it follows a set script. It's a very, very tired old script which then
right,
starts playing out. And at the end of it, there is actually nothing substantive which is done against this guy or his organization in terms of cutting off their funding, in terms of destroying their terrorist infrastructure, in terms of taking over and putting out of business their various establishments, whether it be mosques, whether it be schools, whatever else it might be. So it's pretty much business as usual, but under the veneer that some kind of state action is being taken.
All right, we're going to come back to you in just a moment, but first let's take a look at some of the charges against Hafiz Saeed. He faces serious allegations. He's wanted in India for his role in the Mumbai attacks back in 2008. He's also acknowledged responsibility for the attack in Aknoor in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir state. He's also threatened war against India, and the United States has now put a bounty of $10 million for his arrest. And meanwhile, here's what Pakistan's army said in its official statement. Let's take a look. You're reading the statement on your screen right now. Saeed is wanted in India on the charge of conspiring in the Mumbai attack back in 2008. The Pakistan government has not pursued the case, citing lack of evidence, which was the reason why earlier house arrests were suspended and his organization allowed to function. Taha, let's go to you real quick with regards to this. Between Nawaz Sharif and the army, where does Saeed sort of fit into all this, and why is all of this drama unfolding right now? Just as we talked about earlier, is there a lot of pressure on Pakistan given what's happened in the United States? Is this just a sort of a show of force to see what Pakistan is doing to deal with terror?
Well, it is sort of linked to what happened a couple of months ago when the Pakistani Prime Minister, and there was a security meeting in which the Pakistani Prime Minister, his younger brother, the Chief Minister of Punjab, came on down hard on the Pakistani military and said that Pakistan is becoming internationally isolated and we need to take some action against these militant groups that are operating. And then later on, the Pakistani government went on to deny when the pressure came from the military. Also, again, some analysts here and some experts believe that the fact that there has been a change of military leadership here, because of which there might be the fact that the Pakistani civilians are trying to assert themselves, and in that sense we're seeing action against these groups which are usually backed by the military. All right, Taha and Sushant, thank you so much for your time and perspective. We appreciate your insights. And with that, that is a wrap right now here on Gravitas. I'm Archit Tishadri. Thanks so much for tuning in. News and updates continue. Have a good night.